As many of you already know, we're planning on living on a boat in the near future. So a really big question is, what kind of a boat do we want to live on? We started small, playing on the water. Soon we bought bigger boats, and bought boats that we could spend the weekend on and take overnight trips. We bought a 32-foot Nordic tug that we named Three Ravens, and took some extended trips and realized this is the life for us. Now we have a 2-year plan to cast off our lives as landlubbers, to learn what we need to know, and to become full-time liveaboards. We are Bill and Lisa, and we want to live on a boat. There are a huge variety of styles and types of boats to choose from, and I couldn't possibly tell you what type of boat would be right for you, any more than I can tell you what kind of a car would be right for you. So we thought we'd share a little bit about our process of figuring out what kind of a boat we want to have to live on. But before considering different makes and models, we thought it best to start with looking at different types of hulls. I grew up around sailboats and love sailing, but their narrow design makes it fairly uncomfortable for living. However, the shape of their hulls make them extremely efficient. They can move 6 or 8 knots just with wind, so there's something to be learned there. So, as far as power boats go, there are 3 basic kinds of hulls. The first is a planing hull. These kinds of boats skim across the top of the water. They're limited only by the amount of power you put on the back of them. The downside of a planing hull is it's very uncomfortable. Anybody who spent any time on the front of a Boston whaler knows you get the teeth rattled out of your head. Because of this, boat designers made a compromise. They created boats with a deep V hull to cut through the waves, but towards their sterns they get very flat. This allows them to rise up out of the water, just like a planing boat does. The downside of that is it takes a tremendous amount of power to lift a boat this size up out of the water. To aid with this, boat designers built little ledges underneath called chines that help to lift the boat up out of the water as it's moving through it. The problem with chines is that at anchor, waves will come in and slap underneath the chines, known affectionately as chine slap. Some people feel like chine slap puts them to sleep, but for me, it just keeps me awake all night long. This brings us to full displacement hulls. While they are a lot more work, the advantage of a sailboat is its sleek, rounded hull, allowing the water to flow around the hull instead of the hull rising on top of it, much like a sailboat. Like a sailboat, they often have a deep keel and quite a bit of ballast underneath. One advantage to a full displacement hull is that it will track straighter, or at least straighter, in a following sea. It's also much more fuel efficient. A semi-displacement hull may take as many as 22 to 25 gallons per hour, while a full displacement hull of the same size may take as little as 2 or 3 gallons per hour. You'll probably find that most boats are semi-displacement. These have the advantage of being able to cruise along at slow, full displacement speeds, which is much more fuel efficient, or to get up on plane, get home, or away from a storm very quickly. So one of the first questions we had to ask ourselves was, were we trying to get someplace, or were we there already? They say that the two happiest days of a boater's life are the day he buys the boat and the day he sells the boat. But for me, I'm never happier than when I'm right here at the helm of my boat. Most of my life, in fact all of my life, I've been rushing to get from one place to another on time. My whole life determined by time and place. But this can be dangerous on a boat, tempting you to head out when it's less than optimal conditions. One of the most dangerous things you can have on a boat is an agenda. So we hope to be able to just leave when we want to leave, stay when we want to stay. For us, speed will be much less important than comfort. The next question we had was how many engines we wanted on board. 1, 2, or even 3. The advantage of having 2 engines is that if one breaks down, there's always one to get you home. The disadvantage, of course, is you have twice the maintenance, twice the cost. Another advantage is found in maneuverability, especially when docking. To compensate for this, many boats have bow and stern thrusters to help with maneuverability. Of course, your personal preference is the only thing that's going to be able to make the decision for you. There's a lot of variables to consider, that's for sure. I think one of the things that's really important to remember is this will be our home. So it shouldn't feel like we're camping on board. It should feel like we're living on board.
We will be living on board.
So what are some things you want on a boat?
Well, some of the things that are important to me are the galley, having a gas stove, having a large refrigerator, a water maker.
Yeah.
And I want to have room for my kid to come stay, so we need another stateroom. And in our stateroom, we want to have a center berth because in our boat now, he has to climb over me every time we have to go to the bathroom in the night.
Yeah, we plan to spend a lot of time, as they say, on the hook at anchor. So either a generator and or solar panels could be really helpful.
Oh, very important to me, a washer and dryer. Plenty of storage. I want a lot of storage room throughout the boat, but then in the stateroom, in our stateroom, there should be.
We are going to be living on it.
Yeah. And air conditioning? I don't know if we'll need it much though.
When we want it, we are going to really want it.
And you wanted your fly bridge.
Yes, I want a fly bridge.
There's other important little pieces of how big is the water tank, how big is the black water tank.
So by the time we considered a full displacement hull, good livability, and a very stable seaworthy boat, we're pretty settled on a Katie Krogan. So join us next month as we venture down to Florida to actually look at a few boats. We're Bill and Lisa, and we're going to live on a boat.